Zaire summary. He could feel his pulse. His brother was alive just as Mikey was about to pull him back. His hand froze midair. Screaming suddenly filling his ears. Different voices that belonged to him, his brothers, filled the air. All different kinds and messes of different conversations jumbled together. Unable to know what conversation was about what, overwhelming his senses, behind the portal, he could see different versions of his family. A shorter Raphael, a beast Leonardo, a crazy Michelangelo, an abusive Splinter, a dead Donatello, all different kinds of stories and worlds. The worlds closest to the prison dimension, which world was theirs? Or, after the events of the movie, instead of bringing Leo home, Mikey manages to somehow bring his brother to the 2012 dimension. Instead, now the 2012 crew has to find a way to return the younger Leonardo back home, while the Rise dimension tries to find ways to accept their loss. Chapter 1. The Turtle with the Blue Bandana. Notes. See the end of the chapter for notes. Chapter text. No, this couldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. Raphael had collapsed the ground, arms covering his face as he cried, while Donatello just stared at where the Krong and his brother had been mere moments ago in shock. A single tear silently slipping down his face. Michelangelo stared in disbelief. No, he couldn't be gone. Leo couldn't be gone. He couldn't be gone. You are the world's greatest mystic warrior. It was those two hands that created the portal, that sent me back in time. His future self was a mystic warrior. So surely Mikey could create a portal too. He had to. Slowly, he reached out his arms, grunting and hissing. His tears started to drip down, starting to sob. It had to work. It had to. Mikey the box turtle heard his oldest brother say, voice filled with regret and sorrow, it's over. No, Leo never gave up on us, Mikey said determinedly, his muscles tensing as he felt a crack somewhere in his arms. I'm not giving up on him. Something sparked in him, and the turtle screamed as mist energy suddenly built up in his arms, released through his fingertips. Raphael and Donnie looked up abruptly, staring in shock at the scene before them. An orange and golden circle, a ball of light, starting to appear. No, tear open as Mikey pushed and pushed. Mystic powers and energy bursting from his hands. Mikey, Raph snapped out of his trance, running to his youngest brother, as Donnie followed suit. Whatever you're doing, don't stop. You didn't have to tell him twice, Mikey groaned, spreading his arms, the portal cracking and spreading open. In response, he was vaguely aware of the cracks that appeared on his arms, spreading to his chest. What he was aware of was the pain. His entire being was being spread apart, his heart ready to burst as he felt like he was on fire and getting ripped apart like a piece of paper. All at the same time. At that moment, Mikey understood the power of this mystic energy. He was going to die opening this portal. He had died opening this portal. His future self. Casey, I would do anything for you, Leo, any of you, even if it means I have to kill myself. So he gritted his teeth and pushed, forcing the portal to open wider. Tears dripped down his face, and Michelangelo wasn't sure if that was because of fear or pain, but then there were hands on him. Looking up, Raph held one shoulder, Donnie the other, both having a determined expression on their face. Their touch felt so good, like relief, even if the pain was ever still present, and Mikey could still feel his way too fast heartbeat. It was better we're here, Mikey, together. Perhaps he wasn't going to die after all. The box turtle nodded, focusing all his attention on the portal, vaguely aware the cracks had started to spread to his brothers. The portal cracked and spread and cracked, but didn't form. It was just collecting. It couldn't form. Mikey didn't know how. The smartest brother seemed aware of this, suddenly yelling at him, Mikey, stop. You have to stop. It's not working. What? Raph asked. But Donnie, he doesn't know how. Donnie screamed, crying. If he keeps this up, he's going to kill himself. I can't lose another brother. Raph blinked. Tears slipped past his mask before he gently pulled Mikey's shoulder. That's enough? Kid, you can stop. You did your best. What? Mikey didn't look up, feeling angry from the sudden change of plan. No, I'm so close, Mikey, Donnie screamed, pushing Mikey's hand in front of his face. It was cracking, breaking. You're killing yourself. Who cares? Us. But what about Leo? We're not trading your life for his. Raph pulled out his leader's voice, pulling Mikey harder this time. That's enough. Mikey, stop now. Never. Crack. Both Donatello and Raphael screamed from the sudden burst of energy, the blast knocking them back and leaving Michelangelo out of their reach. It picked up much faster than before as the orange cracks started spreading from Mikey's feet to the ground, littering the earth with orange scars that burst open. Raph's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he saw the ground starting to rip apart, a blinding orange and golden light shining from them as they continued to spread further and further. Is this normal? He asked, turning to the soft shell. How am I supposed to know? Came the hysterical answer. Leo, prison dimension, get out, get out. Leo, 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 Leo. With his eyes tightly closed, All Mikey focused on was Leo, Leo, Leo. That mantra was the only thing Mikey could think of, his mind growing hazy, and the world around him blurred, not even aware of the pain, nor his body protesting against his actions, as all he could think of was Leo, find, Leo, find, Leo, find. Leo snap. Spark finally. He found the turtle he had been looking for. His eyes snapped open, his usual pupils gone, replaced with bright, glowing, orange sockets. The slider had long been knocked unconscious, floating aimlessly in the prison dimension, yet somehow holding on to the picture Casey had given him. The Krang was laughing hysterically, staring at the pathetic form of the hero. How laughable. The hero might have saved his planet, but now he was a dead man himself. Oh, how much fun the Krang would have with its new toy. It raised a tentacle, about to strike Leo again, when something grabbed it abruptly. It turned around. A large crack had opened in the prison dimension. Not able to see the other side, all it saw was gold and orange, a glowing orange chain having been thrown through it, having wrapped itself around the monster, and no matter how much the Krang pulled, it didn't let go on Earth. Mikey had a furious expression on his face. Through the portal, he could see the prison dimension. He saw the Krang, who had been about to strike his brother. Deal with the Krang first. His left arm lowered behind where the Krang was before he slowly spread his fingers and another orange crack-like portal opened when the monster raised its arm. Mikey had done the same, reaching his arm to grab the monster as if he could hold him down in the prison dimension. One of his chains reached out the crack, going to the Krang. When Mikey closed his fist, the chain wrapped around its tentacle. The wind sped up, fast, faster, to the point Donnie yelled. He was blown away, being grabbed by Raph, so that he couldn't fly away. Mikey, the box turtle, pulled his left arm down, and at the same, the chain in the prison dimension pulled down the Krang. More chains kept wrapping around it, the Krang screaming as it tried to free itself. At one point, it was pulled towards the crack, being kept there by the chains. Holding his left hand down, balled into a fist, Mikey reached out his right arm and spread his fingers. The cracks traveled further to the ground. At this point, having reached his neck, a larger portal, not in form of a crack, but a circle, was opened in the prison dimension, right behind Leo. The slider wasn't moving. Mikey's heart stopped. No, was he too late? His serious expression shifted into one of fear, and he closed his eyes, taking a calming breath. The sides of his vision blurred, and all he saw was Leo, 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 Leo. Focus on Leo, Leo, Leo. After a few seconds, Mikey saw the rise and fall of his chest at once. His eyes burst open in orange light once again, and Michelangelo reached out his right hand in the prison dimension, a chain going to Leo's wrist, wrapping gently around it. The moment Mikey closed his hand, it was as if the box turtle was holding Leo's arm himself. He could feel his pulse. His brother was alive just as Mikey was about to pull him back. His hand froze midair, screaming suddenly filling his ears. Different voices, voices that belonged to him, his brothers, filled the air, all different kinds and messes of different conversations jumbled together. Unable to know what conversation was about what, overwhelming his senses behind the portal, he could see different versions of his family. A shorter Raphael, a beast Leonardo, a crazy Michelangelo, an abusive Splinter, a dead Donatello, all different kinds of stories and worlds. The worlds closest to the prison dimension. Which world was theirs? Casey was crying. He failed, yet somehow, he succeeded. The kid sobbed as he held on to what had once been his mentor sword. Pulling away to look at the metal, he slid a hand gently across it, sobs building in his throat. He had succeeded. He had done us. Leonardo, his Leonardo, had told him to grab the key. Stop the Krang. He had the key. It was in his hand. He stopped the Krang. They were trapped in the prison dimension. They had won, so why did it feel as if he had lost? The human fell to the ground, crying his heart out. This was what Leo would have wanted. This was definitely what Leo wanted. He had made the choice, but it hurt so bad. Leo was dead, and it was his fault. Casey sniffled when he heard his phone ring. With a shuddering breath, he reached out, seeing it was Raph, video calling him. Of course, good old Raphael. Even now, even when he wasn't who he would be in the future, still being the leader, and more importantly, the big brother he was, checking on everyone to make sure they were alright, wiping at his eyes. He accepted the call. I'm okay. Is this normal? Raphael hysterically asked, turning the camera to show what he meant. Casey's blood turned cold when he saw that way too familiar orange portal. The wind got faster, and the cracks spread wider, starting to reach across his face. But Mikey didn't care. He didn't know what world was theirs. There were so many of them, and it hurt so fucking bad, but Mikey didn't care. He had to get Leo out, but where to? Their world was too far away. The prison dimension was across the multiverse from theirs, and Mikey had a hard enough time reaching it, and no matter what he did, the portal on his side didn't form, but the cracks did. There was an open portal on the other side. He just had to find his way back. Mikey could feel himself slipping. Finally starting to feel his energy being drained, the portal felt weaker in his grip. He felt Leo's pulse slip away, and Mikey didn't know if he could open the portal again. He had to get Leo out now. Mikey squinted his eyes, trying his hardest to find home but couldn't. They were too far. But those other worlds were not. Get him. To stop that portal, now Casey screamed, already running towards the location Donnie had sent him. Why it's what killed him, the future. Okay, he couldn't get Leo home. Fine, he would just drag him into another world. Then anything other than leaving him behind the moan. He figured out how. Okay, God, fucking fine. He is Hamato Michelangelo, the greatest mystic warrior the world had ever known. Or rather, we'll know he could figure it out. So Mikey focused on the different sides and worlds, trying to find a safe one. Raphael biting Donatello's arm off. Pass. Splinter hitting Michelangelo. Pass. Donatello blowing up the house. Pass. Leonardo having turned into a beast, attacking the youngest siblings. Pass. It was one bad ending after another. Not one world being safe enough to be dropped in, until Michelangelo and Raphael were playing video games, Leonardo meditating in the dojo, and Donatello focusing on tech in his lab. Good enough. The portal connected to the safe world. Another portal opening on the other side, somewhere in the sewers. Large, orange cracks starting to spread and appear without a second thought. Mikey pulled his right arm back at the same time. The chain pulled Leo through the portal. It closed behind him. How are you so good at these? Raphael cried, shooting an accusing look at his little brother. Michelangelo smiled innocently, turning to look back at the TV. I'm just good with these things, Brock. And you're sure you didn't cheat? Rude, Mikey. I didn't cheat. Yes, you did. No, yes, no, yes. Yes, no, guys. Leonardo poked his head through the door hole, looking annoyedly at his little siblings. People are trying to meditate here. That's all you do these days? Fearless. Raph rolled his eyes, holding a controller to the leader. Are you sure you don't want to join us instead? Mikey's face lit up at the suggestion, staring at Leo pleadingly. The blue banded turtle sighed, crossing his arms. Once I finish my meditation, maybe I'll. Mikey looked away in disappointment. Leo used to love these games. Before his accident, at least ever since he woke up, he had turned so cold. Raph rolled his eyes, quickly patting the youngest head. He's no fun. Mikey huffing. Leo turned around, walking back to the dojo. Honestly, if those two put the attention they put into games into training, they could be even better than Splinter himself. But Raph was too angry and Mikey was too goofy. Mikey had beaten Splinter before, and he hadn't even thought about it. Oh, well, maybe someday. Leo sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes, trying to find his center again. His hands folded in his lap, and he took a deep breath. Since the two were more silent than before, it went easier. The piece lasted for about 5 minutes until a sudden, loud boom broke him out of his meditation period. Eyes snapping open and reaching for his katanas at once, Leonardo flew to the living room, eyes white slits and ready to attack whatever threat there was. All he saw was Raphael, eyes wide but ready with his weapons, towering above Michelangelo as he was on ground in some sort of Spider-Man pose with his nunchucks. Both their eyes white slits once they saw Leo, or more specifically, the accusing look he shot them. Raph growled. Not us. Fearless, we were just playing, Donnie, Leo yelled. The purple banded turtle walked inside with his shooting Leo an offended look. Not me this time. You sure? Yes, I'm sure. Cut it out. Raphael groaned, standing straight. Mikey got up from the ground, walking in circles. Master Splinter. Donatello breathed, making the other three freeze, before he sprinted to the kitchen. Where's here? The quartet screamed as their father appeared out of thin air, making Mikey cling to Af, who protectively held out his arm as Leo jumped in front of all three of his little siblings. Out of instinct they sighed once they saw it was just Splinter. I am right to assume you noticed that? Yes, Sensei. Donatello, on it. Donnie waved them off, already seeming to play with his watch, pressing some buttons to scan what it was. Odd. What? My scanner can't recognize it. Donnie frowned, pressing some buttons. I detect a large amount of power from that blast, but I don't know what. I say we go find out. Raph was already walking, but was grabbed by the arm as Leo held him. Is it safe to jump into unknown dangers, brother? If you want to decide to wait around to find out, be my guest. Mikey took a step back, wincing. Why were they yelling now? Donnie noticed at once, patting his shoulder. Leonardo. Raphael. Period. They stopped at once. The rat watched them for a second before he cleared his throat. The turtles all looked at him in an instant. Leonardo, I believe your brother may be correct. It is not safe to let this unknown entity run around. Raph smirked. Told ya, but he continued, turning to Raphael. Period. It is also not safe to jump into action without knowing what you are facing. Sneak attack, Mikey suggested. Splinter smiled in satisfaction and nodded. If we sneak around the block and then close them in, We could do an ambush and trap yada yada. How about we just straightforward attack and get it done with? We don't know what they're capable of, Raph, but I know what I am. I swear, Donnie groaned, rubbing between his eyes with a finger. Mikey was giggling, covering his mouth. Team A and B had split up, and right now Leo and Raph were arguing so loudly, Donnie didn't need his watch to hear them. Ladies, he cut both his older brothers off, tapping some buttons. How about we first find whatever this monster thing is, and then you can have your little chat. The two glared at each other before Raphael huffed, fine, good, now Mike SHH. The orange banded turtle shushed, pointing at something on the walls. Look, oh period. Donnie followed his gaze, glowing orange cracks littered the wall, covering it like scars. Donatello scanned them, looking perplexed. You two might want to see this. He sent a picture to Leo. Team A waited, looking surprised at the image Donnie had sent. What are those things? Don Fairlight's the smartest deadpanned, before grumbling, how am I supposed to know? Figure it out if it's so easy. Why don't you do it, Raph? Mikey ignored the other three, staring intensely at the cracks. They felt familiar, but not like deja vu, more like as if it belonged to him. A hand hovered above the cracks. They glowed brighter under his hand. But just as Mikey was about to touch them, he was pulled back. Are you crazy? Donnie asked, letting him go. Knows what kind of toxins there are in those things. Instead, he pulled out a small vial and carefully touched the crack. Some of the orange slid down into it. You, Donnie, Raph yelled, holding his watch to his mouth. We found some of those cracks here, as well. They look like scars, Leonardo added, frowning. They seem to be leading somewhere. Do we just follow it? Michelangelo frowned at the thought. He heard his older brother growl protectively at the suggestion. That's a trap if I ever saw one. We sneak around, Leo instructed, readying his weapons. Donnie, Mikey, follow the cracks. Raph will be in the shadows. Batman. Raphael was already dragging the leader away. Mikey and Donnie looked at each other. If we die, I'm haunting you, Mikey decided, grabbing his shucks. Donnie grumbled, starting to walk. Weapon in hand, he closed the vial, hitting it in his belt. Why are we always the bait? Mikey complained. Donnie shrugged. You and I are replaceable, don't, Leo warned, his eyes turning into white slits. Do we need to have that talk again? Donatello, it's true, Donnie, he does have a point. Mikey sounded annoyed, noticing the more they followed the trail, the cracks started to become bigger. The moment this is over, I'm whacking those two on the head, Raph decided, narrowing his eyes. Leo sighed, not disagreeing with him. Thanks for the warning, Donnie snickered, eyes going wide once they reached an open space. The ceilings, the walls, the floor, everything was decorated with those cracks. That's not what SHH. Team B shushed at the same time, their own eyes copying their big brothers, and sneaking around, slowly walking to the center. Donnie turned to the left, Mikey to the right. Their was pressed against each other. I don't see anything. Me neither. Nothing from our spot, Leo confirmed, finally starting to follow the cracks. Raph was right behind him. Wait, Donnie made all three of them freeze, Mikey turning around at once. There's something over, their weapons raised. The two slowly walked over to the figure on the ground. Yes, there was a figure, mostly red and green, laying on the ground, clearly out cold. Mikey could even hear their breathing, short and ragged and strained. I think they're hurt. Big bro, what in the world is that? What? Oh my god. The duo found the source of the cracks. A large golden circle thing was glowing in the ceiling, cracks sprouting from it. Donnie scanned it, confirming his suspicions. Leo, Raph, we found the source of the bang. Mystical energy. Mystical energy. Raph scoffed, looking left and right. I thought you would be the last to suggest magic. Brainiac, I'm not suggesting magic, it's mystical energy. And that large glowing circle thing in the ceiling, as well as the unconscious stranger beneath it. Whoa, 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 period. Leo stopped. There's a human there. They don't look human. Mikey, meanwhile, had started inching closer to the stranger, nunchucks ready. That's when he heard it. Please wait, that was a mutant, and not just a mutant. Donnie, Mikey said, excitedly waving his hands and jumping up and down. Donnie, what? That's a turtle mutant. The older three froze in their steps. Donnie's head snapped up, standing behind Mikey at once. That red was not part of their skin. He gasped. They're hurt, Donnie cried out, rushing beside them at once. Mikey eyes went wide before he followed suit. Don't just go near them, Leo called out, both running after the cracks. Donnie didn't care, collapsing beside the stranger, gently grabbing their shoulder with one hand and turning their head with the other. The turtle wore a blue bandana. His hair stopped. Notes me on my way to start a new story right after I finish the oldest one. Golden crown, collecting dust. Okay, no, seriously, this story has been sitting in my drafts for so long, and for a good reason. I already have some stories going on and tried to forget about this, but it just made me obsess over it more. I have everything planned out for the story now. What will go next chapter? And when? Reactions. villains, blah blah everything, part of the reason why I tried to finish Soulless first, at least QWQ. This chapter has been edited so many times. The second chapter is even already almost done, and for some reason I keep feeling guilty about posting this story. Which I don't understand, but I'm finally posting this. I can't plan and edit more than I already have done, so I hope it's worthy. Smiley. I do hope I kept the characters in character. Cost 2012. It's been a while. QWQ. I have reread this story 1,000 times because can't seem to find the courage to post. So fuck it, I'm posting it now. Let's go jump into the crazy adventure that will totally not have angst or anything bad happening at all. English is not my first language, or autocorrect ruins my life. So if you see any mistakes, please don't hesitate to tell me.